welcome. guest, Shri Devang Nanawati. The guest of honor, Dr. Avni Desai. Shri Dhaval Jamna Das. Invited guests, Natasha's family and friends, a very warm welcome on this occasion. I kindly request the guests to take their seats on the dais. No. Come on this way. This is Dr. Kavita Patel. Pleased to welcome all of you on behalf of the organizers to celebrate Natasha Kapadia's poetry to launch her debut book of poems titled Unfolding, a collection of poems with believability and profundity. I quote, "We turn not older with years, but newer every day," unquote, a quote most loved by Natasha, by Emily Dickinson. And just few words about the budding poet Natasha. She is currently in IBDP 2 pursuing her diploma course and wishes to pursue a career in English literature. She was 14 years old when she started writing poems as a student of Ahmedabad International School. Natasha started as an amateur writer, and today she stands here amidst us as an expressive poet, and her debut collection Unfolding arises from the experiences of many years of crafted artistry and thoughts. On that note, let's give a big clapping for this book launch, and I begin the formal function welcoming our chief guests. It is my honor and privilege to introduce an exemplary personality, a leading senior advocate, a true academician, a well-known philanthropist in service of people, and a passionate role model for youngsters, Shri Devang Nanawati. By profession, he is a practicing advocate in Gujarat High Court and Honorable Supreme Court of India since 1995. He has been designated as a senior counsel by Gujarat High Court since 2019, a list of achievements and positions in various committees, both nationally and internationally. Shri Nanawati is also a sought-after name in the field of academics. He is a visiting faculty in Nirma University, Gujarat National Law University, member of Board of Studies at Nirma University, and also has been an executive committee member of the esteemed AMA. Shri Devang Nanawati is a perfect blend of professionalism and passionateness. With great reverence, I state that there is nothing more attractive than a great positive personality you have, sir, and this beauty will never fade away with time. I request Natasha, the budding poet, to welcome Shri Devang Nanawati with a bouquet and a memento. Just make yourself comfortable.
I think the flowers should be with you, with the baby. All the best.
Next to him, we have the guest of honor, Dr. Avni Desai, who has over 22 years of corporate and academic experience. She holds an MBA in finance and a PhD in the area of investor relations. She works presently as a professor and dean, School of Doctoral Research and Innovation at GLS University, and a visiting faculty at Indian Institute of Management, IIM Ahmedabad, MICA, and Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India. She is a keen reader and the former president of Ahmedabad Book Club. She has co-authored the best-selling book, Corporate Reputation Decoded, which is the first on this subject in the Indian context and used as a textbook for the corporate reputation course at IIM Ahmedabad. As a mother to national award-winning best-selling author Vishwas Desai, she has been mentoring several young writers in their journey of writing for the past several years. Along with her son, she is the co-founder of India's most renowned first online writing center, Inklings Writing Center, which is a non-profit organization devoted to developing writing skills and bringing budding writers like Natasha closer to their dreams of publication. I kindly request Natasha's bestie, Priyata, to present flowers and memento to Dr. Avni Desai. Last but not the least, the owner and director of Gujarat's well-known Jamna Das Publishing House, Shri Dhaval Jamna Das, an author, editor, and a publisher with a business acumen. In the last 20 years, since he joined his third-generation family business, he has successfully managed and expanded his business, but also pursued his passions as well. Education is one of them. He teaches editing to journalism students at the prestigious Bhavans Institute and Environmental Science to Riverside School students. He knows 5 languages. Japanese is his favorite one, and he's a communicator and also helps all the dignitaries who come to India to be more comforting their stay in India. He's also a volunteer with various social and environmental NGOs and hospitals. An avid naturalist, bird watcher, and mountaineer with more than 2,500 books that the Jamna Das Publication House has published. We wish for many more publications in his able leadership. I gladly welcome Shri Dhaval Bhai Jamna Das. I request Drishan, Natasha's cousin, to present flowers and memento. Now we quickly move to the most awaited moment, and that is the unveiling of the book. I request all the eminent guests, Natasha, to just move ahead and unveil. Congratulations to Natasha, a budding poet in Ahmedabad. I request Dr. Dhaval Jamna Das to give a ceremonial address, as he is the one who has published the collection of books. Shri Dhaval Bhai.
I think I'll have to begin with a big thanks to Kavita Ben. Avni took maybe 3 years to become a doctor. I took a couple of seconds to become a doctor. Thank you for addressing me as a doctor when I am not, but feels good. Ladies and gentlemen, I was introduced as a publisher. દેવાંગભાઈ, આપણે પબ્લિશરની જ્યારે વાત કરીએ ત્યારે ગુજરાતીમાં we know that the word for publisher is પ્રકાશક. હિન્દી में गुजराती में we say પ્રકાશક. પ્રકાશકનો role traditionally used to be to throw light upon something. પ્રકાશ પાડવો, right? There was a time maybe when the language was being framed, when the word was being framed, when it was necessary for somebody to step in and throw light on an author's work. Literally જેને કહેવાય પ્રકાશ પાડવો. હવે situation is a little different now. પ્રકાશ પાડવા માટે એવી કોઈ વસ્તુ હોવી જોઈએ જેના પર પ્રકાશ ન પડતો હોય. હવે સિચ્યુએશન એવી છે, and I see a lot of these young bright faces, Natasha's classmates, cousins over here, કે જેના પર પ્રકાશ પાડવાની જરૂરત જ નથી. How do you throw light on a bulb? How do you throw extra light on a shining ray of light? This is the first feeling that we had when we started the new company, a new vertical called I Write, I Publish. In technical terms, I am not really Natasha's publisher. I was just there to stand by her, and everything has been done by this person. She is no longer a child, so I should not say this child, this young lady. પ્રકાશ પાડવા માટે ભલે મને કીધું હોય, પણ હકીકત એ છે કે આ ખુદ પ્રકાશિત છે. ગુજરાતીનો putting aside the play of words, મને એક વસ્તુ કહો. I see a lot of young people over here. I see a lot of young parents over here. I have a question for all the parents here. We have somebody that we are putting on a pedestal today as a star. She is the star of the evening, right? Do you all agree with me so far? She is the star of our evening, right? This author, this bright young lady. Now, I have a question to every parent here, and for that matter, for every young person here. Is every young person here a star? How many of you believe, parents, that your child is a star? Please. I'm sure every one of us will feel. Please, I want to show of hands. How many of us parents believe, my son is here and I believe that our children is actually, young people are a star. Now my question to these young people whose parents have just raised their hand, मैं आपसे पूछता हूँ, do you people believe you are stars? Please. Every one of us. Yes, I'm sure we do. And yet we are a little hesitant to say it. But are we stars? Yes, I hear some yes. And sorry to say, every one of you here is wrong. Is absolutely wrong. Every parent here who believes their child is a star is mistaken. Every child who has been told you are a star is mistaken. When we call this young lady a star, we are mistaken. You know why? We were taught this in the 6th standard, probably in social studies. हमारी जनरेशन भूल गई है, ये जनरेशन को अभी याद होगा कि our solar system revolves around the sun, but then that sun is a star, right? If we call it a star, we treat it as a star, and when we treat it as a star, we are forgetting that it has the fire, the capacity to be the sun. આપણે એને તારો કહીશું ને, તે તારો ઝગમગતો ટીમટીમાતો રહી જશે, પણ જો આપણે એને સમજશું કે આ તારો નથી, આ તો સૂર્ય છે, એ દિવસે આપણને રિયલાઇઝ થશે that as parents what we've been thinking of, why are we treating our children as stars when they're actually the sun? This is something that I wanted to draw to your attention today. This lady, when we first met less than a month, about a month ago, she was the one who said, I want to publish this book. I want this. I want this kind of a design. This is the kind of book I have envisioned. મને આવું જોઈએ છે. મારા જમાનામાં હું જ્યારે 18 વર્ષનો હતો ત્યારે મને આવી ક્લેરિટી બી નહોતી. પપ્પા પાસે કદાચ સાયકલ માંગતા હતા, પપ્પા સાયકલ જોઈએ છે. આજના બાળકો એ ક્લેરિટી સાથે છે that they have the capacity, they have the ingrained capacity to say this is what I want out of life. We had about 2-week journey creating this book, and every single day at the end of the day I would be commenting to somebody, definitely somebody to my staff, somebody from her family, Avniben, and I would be telling her કે આ દીકરીને તો બધું ખ્યાલ જ છે. All I'm doing is just enabling her, right? So I'd like all of you to put your hands together, not just for one young lady, but for every young person here, every son over here, who I'm sure are going to make us proud. 3 cheers for every person over here, and 3 more cheers for Natasha. Thank you for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I don't regret when I addressed you, because I think you are a very good person to hold the audience. So that was a kind of good address that I did. Now next, I call upon the guest of honor, Dr. Avni Desai, a very strong and a committed woman, as he said, talking about Natasha, and definitely Natasha is going to take a lot of from Avni's words.
Thank you so much, Kavita, for those kind words. Devang bhai, Dhaval bhai, Natasha, proud parents and family and friends. It's a moment of immense pleasure for me, because I'm not here in any academic or official capacity, but I am here as someone who has worked with Natasha in her journey of writing. And it gives a deep sense of satisfaction to see her journey come to fruition. Writing as a journey is a solitary one, and a very difficult one. I'm sure Natasha will agree with me when I say that it is full of angst, sweat, tears, disappointment, and you go through all of this alone, because you're still a writer, and you have still not decided to share your work with the world. You do want to share your work with the world, though, and one part of it is, of course, validation for all the hard work that you have put in, and another is the sheer joy of creation. And I'm sure all parents sitting out here who have their children as their most or their proudest creations, or anybody who has worked on a venture and has seen it grow, would understand what I say when I mean the joy of creation. So it is an absolute joy, and one which every budding writer looks forward to. Now, at Inklings, we are committed to helping young authors like Natasha to experience this joy. My son set up this writing center 3 years ago, and we have been blessed to have amazing instructors, mentors, collaborators like Dhaval bhai, and above all, brilliant, talented students like Natasha. Throughout the entire mentoring process, going through poetry, which was already a passion with Natasha, it has given us an opportunity to understand her talent at a very, very deep level. Dhaval bhai, you've been so impressed with her, working with her for a month. We've worked with her for a year. Natasha was already writing poems when she came to us, and it was very, very evident that she had a spark of immense talent. She had the confidence, she knew that she wanted to get published. At the same time, she had the humility to acknowledge areas where she needed help. And I think that is a winning combination, not just for anybody who aspires to be a writer, but for any professional in any field. she had her clear voice and her sensitive soul was visible right from the very first assignment of poetry that she wrote for our poetry course. So many times I feel, why do youngsters pick up poetry? It's not easy to write poems. We have spent years mugging up poems in school. I think in those days, as young students, we do not appreciate the beauty behind the words. But now that, at least I can say for myself, now that I'm older, I realize how beautiful poetry is, how it speaks to the soul, how it opens up a window into the writer's mind. It gives a sneak peek into the thoughts of the writer. At 17, the way Natasha writes, she talks about the way she sees her world and the way the world speaks to her. And I think it takes a lot of courage to bear her soul in the form of these poems that are there in this book, and to share her innermost feelings with anyone who picks up the book and goes through her work. She writes about melancholy, she writes about serenity. There are poems which talk about her darkest hours, times that torment her. There are poems that talk about times when she has found inner peace. And when you go through it, you will be as amazed as I was to see how beautifully this young woman has the power to express her feelings. So it has been a great privilege, Natasha, to read your poems. Thank you so much for coming to us at Inklings, for sharing your work. It has been a privilege working with you for the last 1 year. And it has been a privilege to right now unveil a book that has long been in your mind and in your soul. May your ink never dry up. May life give you lots of experiences to write more and more beautiful poems. And may all the books that are hidden within you see the light of day someday. God bless.
Thanks for your insights, Dr. Avni Desai, into the journey of Natasha's coming to this stage of coming up with a book of her own. Now I request the chief guest, Shri Devang Nanawati, to speak on this occasion.
Good evening to all. My voice is not at my best. For a lawyer, that's a very bad thing. Chief guest, it is worst. ઓળખાણથી બધું થાય એવું અત્યારના જમાનામાં ચાલે છે. My chief guestship today is also because of ઓળખાણ. I am an Aurangzeb to poems. I can speak, that most of you know. In fact, you will have to stop me. I was given 10 minutes by Kavita, but considering the time taken by Mr. Jamnadas and Avni, I think I will deserve a little more. And you can't give a former politician and a lawyer a mic and then expect him to stop in 10 minutes. That apart, I would first like to congratulate the proud parents, my childhood friend Vaidehi and my golfing buddy and very good friend PK, or Pranav as we call him. They should be very proud that at a young age Natasha has achieved this, and so congratulations to both of you for letting her do. Most parents, because I don't know how many of you know the history, but all known poets, I am a lawyer by profession, a historian by choice, and a golfer by passion. So I don't know anything about poems or poets, but I know that poets were all unsuccessful in life. Many of them committed suicide. Many of them were drunkards. No, it's a fact. It is a fact. Most of them were considered failures in their life. And it's only later on, years after they died, that their works have been recognized. The few poems, or not the whole poems, but the few verses of some poems that I remember and I have inspire me from time to time or encourage me from time to time. I didn't know the names of the poets also. So today, before coming here, Avni can bear testimony to it that I normally don't keep any notes for any speech ever, whatever the length. Don't worry, here it's not going to be long. But so I had to actually keep it in my phone so that I know the name of the author. So I'm going to structure my speech with poems and speak from them, or the verses of the poems. So the first is, don't get depressed. If the book doesn't sell, nobody buys the book, nobody reads it and gives you a rave review, none of these newspapers or media don't give you a good review, don't worry about it. Don't get depressed. So this first verse is for that, because I don't want you to write melancholy. Not at the age of whatever, 16, 17, 18 that you are. I don't want you to do that, because serenity is what you should go to. So I guess this is dedicated to that. By the way, I have not read your poems. I will read it at some stage, but not today. I must be honest. So this is for you. For that, while the tired waves, vainly breaking, seem here no painful inch to gain, far back through creeks and inlets making, come silent, flooding in the main, and not by eastern windows only, when daylight comes in the light, in front of the sun climbs slow, how slowly, but westward look, the land is bright. It's a very beautiful word, because we know that the sun rises in the east, and when the sun rises, you normally don't see that much light. Golfers would know that we wait for the first sunbreak to tee off, and there is very little light. But if you actually, when the sun is rising, the east is not so bright, but if you turn around, the west is very bright. So don't lose your hopes. By the way, this I found out for you, because I'm supposed to know. Arthur Hugh Clough, who was described as a bad poet, wrote this poem, which is now very known. I have never heard of Clough, but still, this poem I had heard. No, but the idea is that if you want to do something in life, you have to make an effort. And so the credit goes to you for making that effort. Where that effort will take you in life, nobody knows. Who knows, tomorrow you may shift away from writing poetry and write something else. But the fact that you had the courage, first of all, to choose English literature, which I'm very happy, because as much as in today's world, and I also subscribe to that ideology that we need to regain our culture and our heritage and our languages, but English, as the great Nani Palkhiwala used to say, is our window to the outside world. Today, India has progressed in the 21st century. We've been able to take strides in business, in economy, in everything, is because of our ability to speak not just our own regional mother tongues, but have English as a common thread, not just between the Indian states, but also the outside world. It is our window to the outside world. So while you should learn Gujarati, you should learn Sanskrit, you should learn Hindi, the fact of the matter is that English is what is going to give you a footing with your link to the outside world. So that is why this balance that you must maintain between education in the mother tongue and education in the English language is something that is very necessary. So I'm very happy that you have chosen to do literature, whether it is English or otherwise. But you will enjoy that journey, trust me. My better half is a literature student, so I know that English literature will help you in whatever profession that you take in life. So a good job on that, right? So the second words are going to be from the national poet of the country that we don't like now, but they ruled us for 150 years or 200 years. Rudyard Kipling. Of course, you know Mowgli and his famous jungle stories. But Kipling did not have very great views on India. But he was a good poet, right? So this poet I knew about. I don't know how, he was successful also, so an exception to poets not being successful. So it's a long poem, but I like certain words of that, which, the words that I liked, the fact that I can tell you poetry, I'll tell you, learn to dream, but don't make dream your masters. Learn to think, but don't make your thoughts your goals, and learn to treat triumph and disaster in equal measure, for both of them are impostors. That is what you should learn. And the whole poem goes like this: if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you. So you can understand that Great Britain and America, who lecture us on women liberalization, they didn't give women the right to vote when this poem was written, and therefore it refers to men only. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you have spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it in one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with the kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance runs, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you will be a man or a woman, my son or my daughter, which I add. So this is what I think you should follow. So don't give up, don't lose hope, okay, and don't let it go to your head too, right? Because you have a long journey to go and you don't know where it will take you. But today, as he said, that it is very easy for us to do this because you have the tools. I think when we were young, most of us at some stage, I don't know, we wrote love letters, I don't know, poems for our girlfriends or whomever we wish to write for. Or when we wrote something, I know that I was very passionate about Sunil Gavaskar in my young days, and I used to adore him. So in my 12th standard, of course my grades suffered because of that. I wrote a book on Sunil Gavaskar. I wrote by hand with a fountain pen, took pictures, matching pictures to the story that I wrote from Sports Illustrated and Sports Star and Sports World and all the magazines that we used to get at that time, newspaper cuttings, and many of them, Gyan Prapa still I think is suing me somewhere for not returned magazines from Gymkhana. And I used the cutouts from them and I wrote an innings by innings account of his entire test career till 1987. So almost his last innings was against Pakistan in Bangalore. But I wrote it and I just showed it to my friends who also said, okay, Bahu Saras. And they just gave it back. Well, destiny changed, and in 2001, Sunil Gavaskar was here for a cricket match. Because of my family's association with the Cricket Association, I invited him for dinner at home. He came home, and I presented him with the book, that this is what I had done when I was 17. And I actually should have got that writing, but he wrote a beautiful saying. The gist of it was that, Devang, I don't know who was more tired, me making all those runs or you compiling this book. And that has been such a great gift for me. It still lies hand bound. Some of the pages are torn also now, but I've kept it as it is. Of course, we didn't have Jamna Das and company to publish it, nor did I. Of course, my mom said that your 42% in 12th science was because of this Gavaskar. But go by your passion, don't go by grades. Today, when I get a case, I'm engaged as a counsel and I'm paid handsome fees. Nobody asks that, please show me your 12th grade balance sheet. What marks did you get? And they are not bound to ask, because you will be able to prove yourself that that does not reflect the correct picture. So, and academically also, then I got some gold medals in college, but that's a different matter. But so do what you do. I could not do. My parents thought it fit that we were told that commerce તો જેને સાયન્સમાં જે હોશિયાર ના હોય લે, બરાબર છે, અને આર્ટ્સ ડફોળ લોકો લે, બરાબર છે. That is how I was forced to do science, okay? And till 11th standard, I was a distinction top 10 student in Xavier's Loyola, not GLS. And just to clarify, and yet 11th 60%, 12th science subjects 37%, with English and Gujarati 42%. People do reverse. Then I went to the US and I did my bachelor's in political science and then law, which I always wanted to do. And in law there were 13 gold medals in 2 years and I took all 13 of them. Okay, so your calling is what you have to find. You will stumble. You should be happy that your generation is different, where your parents don't make the choice of your education for you, where you're free to do and you can actually think of doing literature at the age of 16 or 17. I don't think any of us in our generation had that choice. You know, we by default, because of either of our lineage or of our parents' insistence or their thinking that what their children should be, probably ended up doing what we ended up doing. Some of us were lucky that we could get out and go to our calling. So you should be very happy, take maximum advantage, and not just you, all your young friends who are seated here, I would advise that go for it. Go and do whatever you want to. But whatever you do, do the best. Don't, India's biggest problem is, and in Gujarati word, chalshe nahi karta. The chalshe word is the worst word you can do when you do something. If you want to do something, do it best. Tofan bhi karu hai to best karjo. So that you are given the best award for that he was the naughtiest. He was the brattiest of all, or he or she. So do whatever you do to your best ability, because excellence is what is required. We in this country, because sometimes of this force on us that we don't get to do what we want, we do it half-heartedly. If you will compare, why do we have to go abroad? Why, if you see a bright student, the next thing the parents are talking is Amherst, Cornell, NYU, whatever, UCLA, USC. Why? Why can't you think of institutions here? And those centers of excellence are limited in India is only because of this attitude. Because of public examination, because of public pressure, what you do in a 90-minute memory test can't be the measure of your ability. The measure of your ability has to be your overall performance. You can't judge a student by what he does on a particular day. With my voice, with my headache, if I were to argue a matter today in court, instead of talking to you, I would not have done as good a job as when I would have been 100% fit. God forbid, what happens on the day of your 12th board? If you have a bad cold and a headache, you are not going to be able to write as well as you would have on your normal day. That's it? Your life hanged because of a headache? Isn't that unfair? Should you be judged totally? Your career should be judged, your life should be judged. Students commit suicide because of this. The peer pressure is so much. So don't listen to Vaidehi and Pranav if they tell you anything. You can talk to Avni or me, we'll take care of them, don't worry. But do whatever you want, okay? Right? And if you do whatever you want with passion, you will succeed, right? So I'm keeping it simple and ending with my last 2 poems, all right? So this is the gist of what I told you. So again, a person well, as an Indian, you should not like him too much, but I don't like him for his views on India or what he did to India, but I like him for his art of leadership. So Winston Churchill is my favorite character from history or politics, if you want to call it. And when he spoke to his old student, he went to a school called Harrow in England, which is quite famous. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru also went there. But he went to speak back to his students in Harrow during the middle of the war in 1941, when bombs were falling in England and everybody was not so safe and nobody knew that England would survive. That is when he told his old school students, never give in never give in, never, 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 in nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in, except to convictions of honor and good sense. So that's my advice to you. Never give in. Don't give in. Right? And the last, since Jainik Bhai is seated here, he will report part of this speech to my party, so I have to be faithful to it. So the best, also from a great Indian poet, Tulsidas, and his Ramcharitmanas. So we all know about Hanuman, most popular character. We have Bajrang Dal, and we have Hanuman temples at every nook and corner, and every Saturday or Tuesday, depending on your belief, go and pour oil to take away everything. And Hanuman Chalisa boliye che apne bada. So Hanumanji's greatest feat in the Ramayana, amongst the many that he performed, was when he jumped from Meru Parvat to go to Lanka in search of Sita. And it is at that stage in what is known as Kishkinda Kand in Ramcharitmanas, where Hanumanji is also nervous, like all of us are. He also has butterflies in his stomach, because he's going to an unknown land, a land where enemies are there, where demons are there. He doesn't know whether he'll be able to find Sita. If he finds Sita, what he will be able to do, whether he will come back or not. He has to cross this huge ocean and everything, right? So he also asks for Ram's blessings before he goes. And it is these blessings that are inculcated in this chopai. As you know, the Ramcharitmanas is made up of chopais. It is 4 verses, stanzas, dohas or chopais as they are called. And he doesn't ask for arms and ammunition. He doesn't ask for weapons, not the Brahmastra or any astras. He doesn't ask for wealth, knowledge or anything. So this is what he says. So first he talks about Ram in 2 sentences, then Sita in 2 sentences, and then the blessings that he seeks, which I would advise you that you should seek from your parents, from your God or whatever and whomever you believe in. Hridaya rakhi Koshalpur Raja, Prabhishi Nagar ke jai sab kaja, Komal cheet ati deen dayala, Karan bina Raghunath Krupala, Janaka Suta Jagajanani Janaki, Atishaya Priya Karuna Nidhanaki, ताके जुगपद कमल मनाऊं, जासु कृपा निर्मल मति पाऊं, जासु कृपा निर्मल मति पाऊं. Meaning that mari mati nirmal rakjo, my integrity of my mind, the integrity of my intellect, the integrity of my thoughts, because I am going in a world which is bad. I am going to face the worst of difficulties. If I don't maintain the balance of my mind, if my mati becomes bad, if my integrity, I lose my integrity, I am sure to fail. So live up to your integrity in the most difficult circumstances. We have more than, I don't know, biology, મને તો બહુ ઓછા જ માર્ક મળેલા મેમ કીધેલું, but what, 243 bones? How many bones? I don't know. Any person who knows? Huh? 267. Publishers know everything. They published everything. So 267 bones. And we have different kinds of bones. We have the, let's say, the funny bone. અહીં વાગે એટલે દુખે, funny. And some people are funny. આખો દિવસ બધા પર હસ્યા જ કરતા હોય. હે કરીને આમ હસીને જ આમ મજાક મસ્તી જ કરતા હોય. Well, eventually people will laugh at them, right? The second are the jaw bones. આખો દિવસ જીભને દબાયા જ કરે, નડ્યા જ કરે. So there are people who keep on talking. Sorry, 10 minutes are over. And they do nothing but keep on talking, right? So then there is the skull bone. Now skull is the only bone in the body that doesn't move. All other bones move. Skull is the only bone in the body that doesn't move. But it thinks, the intelligence is there, so it thinks they are the know-it-alls. જે હોય છે ને બધા, મને બધું ખબર છે, આ તો શું બોલે છે ભાઈ, ખબર છે બધું. કોણ? કિપલિંગ તો બહુ સાંભળ્યો, પેલું તો બહુ સાંભળ્યો એમ, right? So they are the know-it-alls, but then they don't move. જ્ઞાન બહુ છે, but they don't do anything. But there is one bone in the body, the backbone. Now this bone, if it was not there, our body would just be a heap of flesh and bones, nothing else. And the backbone is the only bone in the body which has the ability to stand erect and also can do this, right? So in times of difficulty, in times of challenges, remain erect. And in times of honor and success, have the ability to remain humble. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you very much, sir. I was absolutely correct when I said he's a very positive personality, and this was what Natasha needed, and even the youngsters in the audience, definitely you have a lot of takeaways if you want to. Now let's move to the highlight, that is the words from the author herself. This is what I discussed with her when I was talking about the book. She said that she loves to read certain American poets, and I would definitely start with this quote of Sylvia Plath. I quote, "And by the way, everything in life is writable, about if you have the outstanding guts to do it, and the imagination to improvise. The worst enemy to creativity is self-doubt," unquote. Natasha, you have finally come up with a mosaic of visions, memories, and assortments through your poetry after a lot of hard work, and the audience here definitely wants to know from you about your book and even few lines of your poems, recitation at the end.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your Sunday evening with us. I'm really grateful for each and everyone's presence this evening. Firstly, I'd like to start with thanking my family and my friends for all their support and guidance since the beginning. I'd also like to thank Devang uncle, Avni auntie and Dhaval sir for their support and for their encouraging words. For some reason, I've always had trouble expressing myself verbally, and even to my family and my closest friends. That's actually how I ended up discovering poetry. So one day I was on a drive, it was raining, and I was listening to some music. And I remember feeling a multitude of emotions for a multitude of reasons. But during that drive, I suddenly opened the notes app on my phone, and I went on to write my very first poem. I instantly felt relieved to realize that poetry could be my medium of expression, and after that, each time I felt overwhelmed, I did not feel the need to bottle up my feelings. Rather, I would write to release the emotions I felt. That is how Unfolding came to be. Since then, I've relied on my ability to write so that I could use that and express myself in an honest way. That's also why today is an extremely important day for me, because I get to share Unfolding with everyone. A book that includes raw, honest, and real emotions that I felt. Lastly, again, I would like to thank everyone here today for taking some time out and being present on this significant day for me. Thank you. I'm going to be reciting the last poem of my collection. It's titled Unfolding. This pain won't last forever, even though it feels like it will never fade. It will leave you behind slowly before it will let you move away. You may have difficult nights, and fear may take over your mind. Even if it does not feel easy, it's something you have the power to leave behind. Your heart could break, it might crumble into two. That doesn't mean you'll never heal. You'll be able to build a heart all new. Thank you.
A few questions for Natasha. They have been there. So, Natasha, these are two questions for you. Which writers inspired you, or which readings were the most ones you appreciate? Actually, when we talk of poetry, reading, appreciating, and critical appreciation, these are three different segments. So, when she started, what exactly influenced or inspired her to become a poet? That is one of the questions.
Yeah, so I would say the poets that, even before I started writing poetry, I read a lot of poetry. And I would say Emily Dickinson, Shakespeare, and Erin Hansen, they're all well-known poets. And I've been reading them a lot ever since I was a child. And I would say their writing style definitely inspired me and influenced me to start writing poems of my own. And yeah, they've been of great influence to me.
There's another question. What was the major challenge you had putting your words on paper? Now, when this question arose, this is a kind of a notion that goes behind when somebody is writing, especially the gender also matters. Virginia Woolf has clearly said in her writings that all professions are easy for women. Professions for women is not an issue. But when it comes to creative writing, the writer has to kill the angel, and that is the biggest challenge. So this question is with reference to that, Natasha.
So some of the major challenges that I would say I faced while writing the book was not necessarily actually writing the poems. I felt like that was easier for me because I never had to force myself to write. It would just come naturally. What was harder was to choose which poems would stay in the book and which ones to remove. And Kajol ma'am, a part of Inkling's Writing Center, she's my editor. She helped me choose which poems should remain in the book, which were appropriate for the book, and which were not. And yeah, that was actually more challenging than the writing part. And also the titles, to condense my feelings of the poems into 3-4 words, or even one word at times. That was challenging for me, but Kajol ma'am again helped me figure that out. So yeah, those were the major challenges.
This question after Natasha, if she answers it well and good, otherwise it's open to the audience to answer. Since you have read a lot of poems and poetry, and you're going to read and also literature, do you know which is the longest written poem, available in the written form, longest poem in the world, and can you describe it?
I don't know.
He says he can. But I'm sure he's going to say the title wrong. I'll correct him later. Go ahead.
So the wrong title probably is Homer's Iliad. No.
You look closer home. Anybody? Yeah, so the answer technically is reference to that correct by Jainik, and the lady behind is absolutely correct. It is the Mahabharata, but Mahabharata is just one section of the book. Can we name the poem? The author we know, Maharshi Vedvyas. Is 1 lakh stanzas or verses? Huh? No, Bhagavad Gita is again a section.
The Golden Gate.
Yes, he is right. It's called Jaya Gatha. Never forget that. The name of the poem is Jaya Gatha of the Bharat Vansh, which led to the fighting of it, which is the battle, which is called Mahabharata. It is 1 lakh stanzas and is the only longest written poem in the world. Right? So read that also at some stage.
Yeah.
On this note, we end this launch. I thank the guest and the organizers, AMA, everyone behind this. Finally, when I wrap this, I have just one thing want to tell Natasha, that when she writes poetry, she is another self. That is what I have explored her in last 1 week, trying to understand this budding poet. When the Azadi Amrut Mahotsav is going on, we should be glad enough to have a budding Ahmedabadi as a poet amongst us. Congratulations, and that's how we wrap this session. Thank you very much.
આવી જાઓ મેમ બુકની સાથે એની સાથે જ લઈ લઈએ ને મેડમ. નતાશા ચાલશે આટલે.
Congratulations. All the best. In Canada, Cadilla Farm, work with the corporate sector, practice. કેમ છો મજામાં?
કરતો બંધ લાઈવ હિતલભાઈ પેલું પેજ મારીને બંધ કરતો. હું